And hello, I am the Showpal guy, and I want to discuss Yu-Gi-Oh! Masterduel events. Now, these events, for the most part, people don't really enjoy. Yu-Gi-Oh! Masterduel events, they have a theme, they have a gimmick, and Konami cannot trust the players. I know strangers like, I'm a player and you're telling me that I can't be trusted. Yes, you can't trust me. You know why? Because we players in the Yu-Gi community, we will say things, but we're not really going to be committed into those things. Like, we talk about how power creep is bad, but no one's going to stop those players from not playing the big, busted, overpowered cards, right? Like, we're going to talk about how combo decks can take forever, but no one's going to stop the combo player from playing. Or we're going to say floodgates are bad, but yet those same players who say floodgates are bad are totally open to playing floodgates. Like, we, as Yu-Gi-Oh players, we will say one thing, but we're not going to commit to anything when it comes to actually making changes that might hinder us in our gameplay, unless we're doing it for content. But 99.9% of players out there who play Yu-Gi-Oh are not content creators. So how do you fix the Yu-Gi-Oh event here? Well, for the most part, the large majority of people who know Yu-Gi-Oh or even play or participate in Yu-Gi-Oh do so through the anime. So what Konami should do is that they should have specific events where you can only play decks that are played by people in the anime. Just give us loner decks. It doesn't matter if they're good because they're an event. They're meant to be gimmicky, like stuff like this. Like, nobody takes Yu-Gi-Oh gimmick events seriously. Why should they? It's just a one-off thing. So why not just... I understand, like, you don't want to limit people's creativity and stuff, but the loner decks they give you is about 3. Why can't you give us, like, 10 or 15 loner decks? And those 10 or 15 loner decks are decks that people from Konami pick out the cards themselves. Like, I personally love the random luck festival events. The one where you can play as like dice or you flip a coin, you burn damage. It's a whole lot of RNG, okay? But who cares? It's a gimmick event. Like, the RNG stuff, it really doesn't matter all that much because they're playing this event just for the gems and just to play an alternate format for the fun of it. And I like that event because everybody, pretty much to an extent, played the same deck. Now, there are ways around that because I think like Konami give you like 32 cards, so you can I say like 25-ish cards, and you can throw in like 15 cards of your own to go spice up the deck. But for the most part, pretty much people played the same deck, or people had like a variation of it. The way that people bypassed the loner deck issue that they had last time was that, okay, Konami gave us a bad deck, and so we're gonna throw in really strong engine cards like Branded Fusion into the dice deck, or we're gonna throw in like a Blue Eyes engine or like a Deer Note Punk engine into our flip coin deck. That's how players bypassed that, but it was still a fun event overall because the players had less control and less options and less choice as to how this event was going to go. The issue with the current event right now with light and dark is that there are just clear, de facto, strong light and dark decks. Like in the dark category, you're going to have Branded, you're going to have Labyrinth, and then in the light category, you're going to be dealing with Drytron. So what can Konami do to stop us Yu-Gi-Oh players who will, in all honesty, we will try to make these, we're going to try to create like a meta. We're going to find what's optimal. We're going to min-max ourselves in these events here. So what do? You take away or you limit that option for us to min-max in these events. And now you're going to say, well, if you're taking the creativity out of Yu-Gi-Oh, then how can you enjoy the event? You can still kind of do that, though. If you give us a specific card pool, it requires a whole lot of energy. But if you give us like a loner deck, and then you give us the option to like add in maybe like 10 or 15 cards that we personally like into those decks, that'd be great. Also, one thing I noticed for these Yu-Gi-Oh! Masterduel Festival events is that there's a lot of repetition involved. And I think there would be far, far less repetition if instead of giving us 3 loner decks, you give us 15, 20 loner decks. And these 15, 20 loner decks, or if you want to be like even, simplify even more, give us 10 loner decks. 10 loner decks that we can do slight little bit adjustments or edits. And if you allow us to do that, we were still going to play fair, but each of us brings in our own sense of creativity or deck building skill into this. Like, look at this right here. Let's say Konami gives us this really jank Yugi deck. And then we are given the option to add in 15 or 20 of our own cards into this deck. Then, for the most part, people will be playing a Yugi Moto deck, but added in some spice. Like, there's a great possibility out there that somebody will do Branded Dark Magician. There's also another possibility that somebody is going to do Cyber Dragon Drytron. Or if somebody's playing, let's say, Tearlaments, they're going to do like a Tearlament Toon deck. Because 90% of your deck has to be comprised of Toon monsters. So you have this 10% slot where you can go add in your Tearlaments. You could do that. I think there will be a lot more creativity going on if you ironically limit our ability to have full range in our deck creativity when it comes to creating our stuff. I think that would make Yu-Gi-Oh events a lot more better. These attribute events just don't really work out well if you try to promote the idea that if you want specific decks to be played, and if you want these events to be very casual friendly, which they are meant to be because the regular game is so hard and so complicated and so difficult, a lot of people are just intimidated by it, then give us like a theme-based format where, oh, you gotta play Kaiba related cards, or you gotta play Crowler related cards, or you have to play Jin and Yuki cards, and you can only use cards that they themselves used in the anime. I think that is a great idea. I think it is fun in the sense that it's going to spark new creativity from veteran and experienced players, and it's going to appeal to the newer casual audience players out there. That is what I say in terms of what I would do if I had the option to go and change the Yu-Gi-Oh! Masterduel events. If they did that, if Konami were to expand upon this and give us more loner decks while at the same time limiting our creativity on what we can create through deck construction, I really do believe that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Masterduel events would be so much way more fun.